Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News. I'm German Abel, sitting in again this week for Inside the News. And we had another busy news week, and we'll dive into, the big stories that made the news this week, including some developments that happened today. But before we begin those discussions, let us acknowledge our partners, TDC and Car Brewery, and then we'll come right back with the program.
$50,000?
$50,000? Win big with TDC! Win up to $50,000 cash in the TDC Mega Rewards Mega Raffle! To enter, you must be a Mega Rewards member or sign up to TDC Mega Rewards Loyalty Program. Shop at our TDC retail stores or online at shoptdcgroup.com to receive one entry for every $250 spent. Draws take place from July to November. Win $10,000 every month with your entry rolled over so you can win even more.
Yes, this is 50.
Terms and conditions apply.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
And welcome back to Inside the News. I'm Chairman Abel, sitting in again this week here on the program. Yes, sitting in again here on the program. So, like I indicated earlier, we had a busy news week. We heard from the Prime Minister about the town hall, during the town hall meeting that, both the Minister as well as the Minister of Water and the Minister and the Prime Minister, talking about their plans and the fact that water was found in the Keon area, which is good. And that was just one of the major topics. But this morning we woke up to news that there was a massive earthquake in Morocco, where at least 1,000 people have been confirmed dead thus far as they continue their search and rescue operations over there. Yes, so that's part of our discussion this morning, as well as intra-regional travel, the challenges associated with that. We heard recently from the Prime Minister that he has been disgusted by it, as well as a number of other regional leaders are disgusted by it. We know that a number of people here in St. Kitts and Nevis have been affected by the recent issues surrounding Inter-Caribbean as well as Caribbean Airlines. I know recently I played a report, I suspect, from Caribbean Airlines. They indicated about that their pilots were not necessarily on strike, but rather there was a lot of them called in sick, which caused ripple effects across the region. And then we've been hearing about some of the challenges being encountered by Inter-Caribbean. Additionally, next weekend is Independence and Heroes Day, so you can call in, share your thoughts. Is St. Kitts and Nevis independent? What more can we do to be self-sufficient, self-sustainable here in St. Kitts and Nevis? This week is your week. You can share some of your major discussion points, some of the challenges as we prepare to head in and celebrate independence. So, but before we do all of that, we just get an update quickly from Al Jazeera surrounding the earthquake in Morocco, and then we'll continue with the discussions here on WIN FM.
in Morocco, where a powerful earthquake has devastated its central region. More than 1,000 people are dead. Many more have been injured. Officials are reporting significant and widespread damage across several areas. Well, this was the moment the magnitude 6.8 tremor struck late on Friday evening, sending people running for their lives. The tremor hit some 70 kilometers south of the popular tourist city of Marrakesh. But the shocks were felt as far away as the coastal cities of Rabat, Casablanca and Essaouira. It's the worst disaster Morocco has seen in more than 20 years. Hashim Al-Barra begins our coverage.
Hours after a powerful earthquake struck Morocco, the scale of widespread devastation is now emerging. Flattened houses and streets that resemble a war zone. Marrakesh is the closest major city to the epicenter of the quake. Rescue workers who have worked through the night continue to look for people trapped under the rubble. But there are several areas still out of reach and people are desperate.
Please share this. We need help. We need helicopters and aid. And the roads are closed and we can't drive. We need help to get people from under the rubble.
My parents are ill at home. It is necessary to get help. We cannot continue without water or electricity. The roads are blocked. We only wanted to get our parents out of the house, but we could not.
It began a little past 11 p.m. local time on Friday night, when many Moroccans were out. This is the moment when the earthquake struck, sending panic-stricken people out on the streets. Many others were jolted from their sleep. Piles of debris from flattened houses and collapsed buildings lined what were once residential areas. The desperate search for loved ones began soon after. A video posted online shows a mother trying to reach her children stuck under the rubble. The number of dead is rising.
We dispatched a number of security teams and rescue operation to various affected areas. We urge all citizens to stay calm. The Interior Ministry will update the public later.
The U.S. Geological Survey says the epicenter was in the Atlas Mountains, some 70 kilometers southwest of Marrakesh. There are reports of damage in Marrakesh's Old Town, a UN World Heritage Site. The quake was also felt as far away as the coastal cities of Rabat, Casablanca and Essaouira, and many people spent the night out on the streets.
The house rocked aggressively. Everyone was scared, and I was shocked. I didn't understand what was happening. I thought it was only my house that was moving because it's fragile and old. I heard people screaming. Everyone went out of their houses to the streets, which were full of people and women screaming.
Hospitals in Marrakesh are treating hundreds of injured people. Now, many are worried about the risk of aftershocks in the coming days and weeks. Hashim Al-Barra, Al Jazeera.
Earlier, I spoke to Hashim Al-Barra. He explains the number of casualties will rise as rescuers reach remote areas.
It will take the government some time to be able to get a complete picture of what happened, and I think this explains why we're getting these numbers further increasing. The authorities are saying that the army has been deployed with specialized units to try to rescue those trapped under the rubble. It's going to be extremely difficult situation.
I think the WHO was saying that something like 300,000 people could have been impacted by this. Do we have any idea how many of that number might be still trapped under the rubble?
You see, this is the thing, because we're talking about villages. To be able to drive to those villages, I myself drive to those villages and it takes me sometimes 7 hours to drive just for 35 kilometers. Very rough terrain, very extremely difficult to get access to. And there are thousands and thousands of local people living in local communities in these desolate mountainous areas. And this is the concern. The concern is how many people are still trapped under the rubble and how many buildings have been severely compromised because of this earthquake.
And if I can add to that, what happens to the people who've survived this? Now, you and I will remember when we covered the devastating earthquakes in Turkey in February. One of the challenges that we faced and many people faced in the disaster zone was basic things like finding water.
This is winter, the beginning of a rainy season in Morocco. The army is saying that it has set up the first makeshift hospital in the area. The challenge will be to set up makeshift tents in those areas or move people to temporary shelters. We have to wait and see the number of people affected in those areas. If we're talking about thousands, then the authorities will definitely have to set up immediate tents in those areas to cope with the growing number of the people displaced because of the earthquake. And this explains why the authorities are appealing on people for calm, saying that they are doing their best to try to cope with the magnitude of this earthquake.
And Caroline Holt is the Global Director of Operations for the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, joins us live now from Geneva. Good to have you with us. So tell us a little bit about aid efforts. Are they reaching all of the devastated areas?
Well, thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. Are aid efforts reaching all those areas? No, not yet. Absolutely not. This is the very early stages, of course, of a search and rescue response. We know that efforts will be complicated, but of course, these are the initial hours. This happened at nighttime when, of course, people were maybe asleep in their beds or thinking about that. And so as daylight broke this morning, we really only started to see the impact of the earthquake unfold. Right now, and the next 48 to 72 hours will be critical in terms of life-saving, and search and rescue efforts will be absolutely prioritized. In parallel, of course, with making sure that those that did survive are taken care of in terms of their basic needs. So I think you will see that the aid initiative, or there will be aid and support that will already be arriving, of course, through the Moroccan government and the sort of internal agencies on the ground, but more and more as the needs start to unfold, I think we'll see quite a massive aid effort also being required here. Okay, you mentioned that rescuers haven't been able to reach, or the aid effort hasn't been able to reach everywhere. What's holding people back? Is it the terrain? Is it just simply the distance? This is quite a vast area. There's a vast area that's been impacted, of course, but yes, as you say, and as your report alluded to, there are actually a lot of remote villages up in the mountains that have also been impacted. Of course, the very nature of an earthquake means that transportation routes are impacted immediately, therefore roads will be blocked. It will be necessary to organize heavy machinery to make sure that those routes are cleared. Not only that, though, of course, communication would also have been impacted on this. Electricity would have been impacted as well. So the complications in these early stages cannot be underestimated, and the size of the task ahead of us is huge.
People make the world go
And there you had it. That was Al Jazeera giving us an update on the latest in terms of the earthquake that struck Morocco last evening, just about 6-7 o'clock our time. You know, at least 1,000 have been confirmed dead, and another 1,000 at least have been reported as missing thus far. But we here on Inside the News, it's an open mic again today. You can share your views, issues, topics this week. Next weekend is independence. So are we truly independent in terms of our views, thinking, and are we independent to the point that we are self-sustainable? So that's our topic for today. You know, as well as we look at other major issues affecting, or major issues locally, regionally, and internationally here on Inside the News.
People make the world go.
It's TDC for me, TDC for we.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
And we're back on Inside the News, and we go to the phone line. Caller good. We lost that caller. But yes, you're here on Inside the News. I'm Jeremy Abel sitting in, and we go back to the phone lines. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Abel. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, man, I was just here waiting to hear your voice. So I hope the Lord has been good to you. Has the Lord been good to you?
Always, always. I give thanks.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
here today.
You got nothing to complain about your life.
That's
Where
true.
was the earthquake? The one in Turkey they were talking about?
No, that one occurred last night in Morocco.
Oh, Morocco. You know, we have students there. You know, we have the OECS embassy there.
Yes.
High Commission.
Yes.
So I hope our people are safe. You see how uncertain life is? Life is so uncertain. And yet we live as if nothing could happen to us. You know, even now, this time out there going somewhere, we cool, calm, and collected. Ignoring any kind of sign. So my heart and my prayers go out. And I believe we have students there, you know. And some of them were looking forward to going to Morocco to study. You would have heard the advertisement on the radio, right, for scholarships?
Yes.
So our heart and prayers go out to the people of Morocco. Now, let me get to the independence thing. Are we truly independent? Well, there is no independent country, number one, nowhere in the world. Some are more dependent on others than others. Because this is a global world and we are all interdependent, whether for markets or for consumers. Would you agree?
True.
Yeah, they're not really truly, totally independent. Now that affects the way we think. The sense of nationality is reduced. You know, when you were not independent and whatever, you were looking for independence, political independence. But we have not been able to manage economic independence. Nowhere in the world.
So then, Ms. Henry, it will go to the second point I was making earlier. Are we independent to the point that we are self-sustainable across the board?
Well, we learned with COVID, eh? You know that Calypso, COVID taught us a lesson? You know that Calypso, right?
Yes.
COVID didn't teach us a lesson. I just said the boat didn't come with something else would have happened down here. Now, let me get to the what prevents us from becoming so. This partisan ideology we have in this federation is hindering the country from moving forward. It goes like this. My party in, your party out, you might as well go and buy a ticket. There's always heavy migration after election. And some of it is unwilling, you know. Involuntary migration. Because you get shut out. And often you shut out a lot of what we just call the brains. And we complain. So we are forever building in the same spot. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the same thing continues. Well, if you were in there, well, all who went in with Tom, about with Tom, this in America, you know. So all the brains and the technical knowledge migrates. If it doesn't migrate, it becomes dormant. And that sometimes some people are often unwilling to even get up and start to make their own business because they feel paralyzed. And in terms of policy, I keep saying it, we don't have long-term plans. I recall in the early 90s, I worked at the planning unit as a statistician, economist. And there were attempts. They actually wrote 2 development plans. Of course, in one, politicians have a way of over, when it comes to capital projects, just like they do now. They know that they cannot fulfill it, but they put them in the plan. So until we are able and willing to have long-term plans, 10, 15 years, we don't know where we're heading. We are impulsive. I listened to a show, I think yesterday on Freedom, where this gentleman, Isimadres from Nevis, he was talking about the agriculture policy. He said that was developed from late 2022, the last government. And it was, the policy should have covered 10 years. I think that's what he said. Abba, the man named Abba, you live in Nevis too, right?
No, I don't.
So the man was saying that they have this plan. We are now talking, as he said, about 20 by 25, 25% reduction in imports by 25. He was saying, we're not planning for it. You need the manpower, not only just workers, technical skills, that the training for us to achieve it has not yet begun. I keep saying it, even this ganja thing. People should be in the university, in the colleges, studying how to make this, the oil, how to do with the species of ganja that you're going to plant, So until we get down to the manpower, human resource development, and until we are welcoming, because many students have gone out there and have done it, but when they come back, they're sidelined. So until we get down to that, even construction, I have known of water engineers, because they don't support the minister. They send them down technical college to teach. Water engineers, electrical engineers the same way. We have problem with our generators, and because they feel the engineer does not support them, they turn them away.
So Ms. Henry...
So how are we going to progress? How are we going to progress? So you encourage the children to go outside there. You have economists. We have a lot of economists at the planning unit, people with economic degrees, And before you put them to good use, we bring in some people with the political ideas, and we call them economic advisors. There's a lady here, I'll call her name, Mr. Willa Liebert. Willa Liebert is an economist, because I recall her working at the planning unit with us. You have people, let's do this. All we're doing, we're trying to quiet the population. And before I go, I was asking about this parade. The parade. Well, before the government got into office, many of its supporters were saying that this government should not go over in Heroes Park to hold no ceremony. So they skillfully carrying the thing, I heard, into the park as an excuse. But they're still going down to St. Paul's to put wheat by Mr. Bratcher. They're still going up the pass to industrial site to put wheat by Mr. Southwell. What about Mr. France? What about Sim Daniel? What about Dr. Simmons? If you keep the country divided like that, how on God earth you expect us to become independent in thinking when we are forced again and again to be subjected by political parties? Where are we heading? And I'm waiting on Dr. Drew's people listening, If you have the 5 heroes, I said the 4, heroes over there, the 5 over there, and you ignore them because of politics, You have in fact reverted, and that's what we keep going back. That this is Labour country. What about the rest of us? What about the people who are not taking any party? The blue, the red, and the green, and the yellow. How on earth are we to move forward? Take a look at all of the skills that you put on the side. What role were they playing? Were they part of the plan going forward? Because we could talk all the talk. As the man said, we're not going to achieve no 25 by no 25. We're not ready for it. Number one, the land. When you go and plan to put down 2,400 houses, before you allocate the land for agriculture, before you allocate the land for the ganja business, what are people to do? Everything can go in greenhouse, you know.
Yeah, but
we
Miss
put
Henry,
our people in greenhouse. Lettuce.
Yeah,
those
but Miss
things can
Henry,
in full belly.
Yeah, but Miss Henry, I think the minister, they can try to get him again to come on to answer those questions. But I think he responded to a bit of what you were saying, not the questions that you were asking right now. I think he responded to a bit of those sort of concerns, he and the PS, when they were here on the program.
I wonder if you could. The gentleman is in Nevis. He said he has a farm over at Kate's Garden.
Mm.
You live in Nevis?
No, I don't live in Nevis. But
you live in St. Kitts?
Yeah, but I can.
You used to work in Nevis, though, right?
No, but I can. What I can do.
If you could check out the gentleman, he had the agriculture policy.
Okay, what I can do, right? Because again, they're very open to coming on and speak about agriculture, so we can see if we can get them to come on again sometime and raise these questions and concerns with them. Okay, so yeah, we'll try to do that.
Yes, because if you could get access to the what they call it, the grounding with my story. He was there. He was a guest. He's a trained. He said he worked with FAO and all of that. You know? Mm. I mean, we got to get serious. We're only talking 40 years. Okay. How far have we come? So we could have been further, you know.
Okay, so Ms. Henry, if you had to give two recommendations to this administration or to the outside of the government, let's look beyond the government. We're looking at independence and we're looking at sustainability for St. Kitts and Nevis. What would be two recommendations that you would give to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis as an independent society to build up the nation to the point that we want it to go?
All right. I would say first thing, right? Each citizen must feel as if they belong, as if they have a stake in it. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to reach a state where you make, I don't mean pass out nothing. The atmosphere in the country must be such that each citizen feel that they have a stake in it. That it is their duty as a citizen to help to build it up. So we have to build confidence. Everybody must feel like they belong. Now I back to again a plan and a plot. I asked it because I'm an economist. And I know if you're going to build a house, you better have a plan. If the country needs a development plan, not 1 year or the midterm, as they say. In fact, a 10-year development plan, because you're going to build all these houses, you're going to build this school, you know, so that you know the labor force. I'm not going to take too long. In 1994, we had a labor force survey. Along with that, we had an industrial survey. In that, all the businesses and the companies, they were interviewed, and they were asking, like, in the next 5 years, what type of skills you want, right? What expansion have you planned? Now, when you know these things, then it begins to affect the curriculum in the schools. But if you're not finding from them, where are you heading? Next thing you know, they're bringing AI and you don't know, you know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, AI is another discussion point.
Yeah, but some of them, when you start to push salary increase, I mean, minimum wage. Some of them might resort to it. You can't stop them.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is this. The education, I recall way back it may be in the 90s.
30 seconds. I have to,
I was on the National Education Board. And the man from the chamber, he kept saying, stop teaching typing in school, because that's what is to teach. Teach the children to use the computer, and we lagged, and a lot of our children lost opportunities. So I'm saying, they need to know what the private sector, what plans they have. How do our children fit into it? How will they fit into it? Because we're educating and nobody want that skill, we're wasting time. So all of this should figure out in our total development plan. All right then.
All right, thanks. There you had it. Our caller just, giving her point of view, but she's calling for a long-term plan in order to develop St. Kitts and Nevis post-independence. And we go back to the phone line. Caller, good morning.
Good day. Good day to you. Good day to everybody. Greetings once more in Jesus Christ's name. He who is the only Savior of His chosen elect sinners from all eternity, and who died to save them from their sins and from hell. And he is the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first of all, I would like to make an appeal to, on behalf of a gentleman who was a firefighter and fireman in St. Kitts and Nevis, who served his country very well as a firefighter and a fireman. His name is Mr. Everson Bell. He's from Connery, and right now he needs blood donations to save his life. You see, he's in a very serious situation and condition, and he needs blood donation right now to save his life. So, so I'm appealing on his behalf and on his family's behalf for people to go and donate blood to him, as he served his country very well as a firefighter and a fireman, and a rescue worker too, because they do rescue work as well. Yes. Okay. Secondly, I would also like to touch on independent heroes day and Independence Day, and I would like to say this: just like every day, that would include Heroes Day, Independence Day as well. In addition, that we need to remember and keep in mind always that the center of every day, including those days, is no one else or anything else other than Jesus Christ, who is the Lord God Almighty. And if we don't keep him at the center of every day, including our birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Independence Day, Heroes Day, you name them all, if we don't keep the Lord God Almighty Jesus Christ to be as the center of them all, which we ought to do, we are making a very grievous and deadly mistake and a disservice to us and to our federation, because only he is the center of every day, and only he can bless us. Only he has all of the solutions and answers to all of the issues and matters in life. And you find them all in the Bible, which is his inspired word. So that is also what I would like to tell. So in addition, as well, we ought to be giving the Lord God Almighty Jesus Christ all of our thanks and gratitude for thus far sparing us of all of the hurricanes and storms. And one of them just passed by us by his hand, by the hand of Jesus Christ, just passed north of us, Hurricane Lee. And at one point, Hurricane Lee winds were up to somewhere around in the area of 160 miles per hour winds. Right now, it is down to 115 miles per hour winds, which is still very deadly and dangerous. And if Jesus Christ did not spare us of Lee and all the other hurricanes and storms thus far, any one of them could have destroyed us completely and totally. And right now we can't even take the slightest of storm, let alone a hurricane. So let us remember all of these things and to always be giving thanks to the Lord God Almighty Jesus Christ for sparing us so far from these things, and continue to ask him for his continued protection from all of these things, and not just storms and hurricanes, but from earthquakes, tsunamis, and so on as well, which so many others have experienced and have been destroyed by. You know, we do not deserve his blessings. We deserve the worst of punishment from him because we are very evil and wicked people, very ungrateful to Jesus Christ. But in his grace and mercy is upon us. He continues to spare us. But his mercy and grace, they have a limit. So let us return to him in true repentance, forsaking our disobedience to the Bible, and start to obey the Bible before he ends his mercies on us and grace on us and bring these things on us to destroy us. Because we are no more righteous than anybody else. But he deals with people in his own time when they disobey his word. And when we obey his word, he will bring his blessings on us. That is what the Bible teaches.
Okay, Carla.
Now, concerning Morocco, and I've read on Everton Obi Powell page on Facebook that our former cop, Ian Queely, is also there in Morocco. So, you know, let us pray that God has kept him safe. Let us pray for his best, you know. But above all else, I appeal to all Christians, let's pray for his salvation above all else if he is not a Christian. I do not know. Now, where Morocco is concerned with the hurricane, with the earthquake, and it has destroyed a lot of stuff, I think, and kill a good amount of people, in the hundreds so far. You know? And all I can say, I pray the best for them. And that is a message for us all, that we do not know when is our last breath. And if we die without Jesus Christ, we're going to end up in hell for all eternity. You know, anything can come upon us anytime. And we die without Jesus Christ, we end up in hell for all eternity, because only his blood, through faith alone, can save us from our sins and from hell.
Okay, 30 seconds, caller.
These issues I would like to bring up. Hello?
All right. You finish?
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And lastly, I would just like to reiterate again, Mr. Everson Bell from Connery, the former fireman and firefighter and rescue worker. He needs blood very badly to save his life. He has been a great asset to the Federation. So I appeal to people to go and donate blood to him to save his life. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, caller. Well, yes, so that caller was sharing his religious views on how St. Kitts and Nevis should go, and, you know, he believes that we need to, in short terms, you know, my interpretation of what he said is, you know, we need to be a bit more religious as we go forward as a society here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, it was, next week we'll be celebrating independence, you know, as a society, and where are we as people in terms of developing the territory as a whole rather than, you know, looking at ourselves as individuals. So, but we'll come back to the phone lines. We must acknowledge our partners, and then we'll come right back and continue with Inside the News.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust. To secure your investment, you need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us. TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
And we're back here in Inside the News. We go back to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Caller, good morning.
Greetings, my brother.
Greetings.
Are you hearing me well?
Loud and clear, caller.
Okay, I'm hearing you too. Okay, give thanks for taking our call. Give thanks for the information flowed so far. My brother, I'm going to call you by your name. By the way, is Abel your title or is your first name?
That's my title.
Oh, it's your title. Okay then. Yes, I did tell you about the name thing one time when a man asked you your name. I'm telling you, you like people bring up your name. But listen, mine is Eli, so it's my first name. So we carry somewhere along the line, we carry two Bible names. But listen to me now. You see these programs, these calling programs, I think that if the people who runs them do not organize properly with timing, it is not having the effect that they are not having the effect that they should have, the impact that they should have as talk shows, you know. When someone calls in to make a point, like I'm doing now, rambling on and on, that's not the way to go. And even when you should observe that. And even when you give someone, you say, okay, 30 seconds. They ramble on for that 30 seconds and beyond. So it shows that you know, there's no on such callers, you know, there's no discretion as it to be forthcoming on programs like these. It's just yesterday, Friday, I think. Just yesterday I made this decision to stop calling a certain program because of what I observed, you know, on another radio station. And anyhow, independence in other regions, my brethren would and sister would say, independ them, yeah. Because well, it could be because they have two reasons. Because in that space they have like Maypen and other pens, you know. But the pen is talking about captivity, and it could be a physical one as well as it can be a mental one. And we are seeing when we examine the word independence, which is if you move the N, you get dependence, you know. When we examine the word, as even the honorable or the present honorable Prime Minister, he made a song concerning that we're not there, you know. And even a while ago in the reason, it came out from my sister that the reason for that, a question was asked concerning economic dependence, you know, things like that, and being self-sufficient. I think that's what the question asked. And it came out that no, we are not there, and the reason for that is party politics. the culprit.
But Carl, on that same point, right? What do you think can be done to change the mindset of the people that we no longer, quote unquote, are dependent, as you were saying?
What will change? What will change the mind of people? The first thing is to know, yeah, like it was identified. Yeah? That was, she said that was part of it, politics, and then other things can put inside there, like the root of the problem, which is mental enslavement, lack of consciousness of one's story, what they call history. And things like that. So if we identify the problem, then we are on the way towards creating the solution, And we cannot underestimate ourselves as a people. We are the same people who went through hundreds of years of physical enslavement. Yeah? And we survived same, and we are here today. We're scattered here and there, but, we are the same people.
But Carlo, I just want to interject. I just want to interject to ask you a question. But as you said that, right, and I know you're answering the previous question I asked, but let us look, for example, at what happened before, because I know we're harping on the past of the negative side. Would you say that we accomplished there was good in the years gone by, that St. Kitts and Nevis has moved to a point where it has grown and significantly achieved a lot?
You're saying comparing to the past?
Yes, I mean since independence.
Independence, okay. I was there when it happened in the park, and from that I even made comment one or two times when Mr. Simmons, Honorable Kennedy Simmons, made a sound concerning the colonialism. I saw the rep from the UK. I saw the shudder, I really saw that, I saw them utterance here move the world, and that's how. That's and from that time to this time, there have been some changes, in the monumental changes, here and there. I do not think that and improvements. I do not think that the people, the mass of the people, have seen the improvement that they should be seen up to the time 2023. Like, for instance, we are still in the midst of wage increase, which hasn't happened for 9 years. And I can just go on and on. It's like we are catching up. But we ought not to be catching up, because the human resource, that's what it's all about. But one of my elders always say, thinking, we crocus bag. He say, you want the Babylon job flat like a ripe sauce up, make every worker stay home and don't go work for a couple of weeks. They must start feeling it in a couple of days, but even that is a couple of weeks. Babylon job like a ripe sauce. The whole system job like a ripe sauce up. It's people, yeah? And I'm not seeing that. So we need to put that in place. And we have the ways and means of doing so, because we are in a space, St. Kitts and Nevis in a space where we can do so much things with the earth. I am standing right now barefooted in the yard. Yeah? And we are in a space where we can do miracles with the earth that we are standing on, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
Carla, sorry to interject again, but final question before I let you go.
Pardon?
No, I was saying my final question before I let you go, because we winding down the first hour. Let us look back at over time. What do you think that we as a people in St. Kitts and Nevis can do to rebuild or build St. Kitts and Nevis to become a sustainable society, both economically or generally across the board? Because we're talking about, as we reflect on independence from whence we came to where we are, or to where we should be. What do you think we can do more as a society, not just government, take the politics out of it, that we can do as a society to build?
Yes, unpolitically. I just spoke about the soil we have, yeah? No, if we focus, and we are not, okay, I don't want to, no want to feel insulted. We're not only Kittitians. Let's say we are Kittitians. We are not only Kittitians and Nivisians. Yeah? We are also an African people. Yeah? I know that if we come to the decision to use what we have, to get what we need, what we ought to have further, we can deal with the soil, and it happened with assistance and with collaborative vibration with the continent from where we are from. We will get the support. I know that. But we are not focusing there. The earth is what we have. The human resource and the earth. We cannot go wrong. We cannot go wrong. It's all win. It's all win-win. It's all win-win. We keep saying it. Eh? Wealth and health. And health is like priceless wealth. Yeah. And we better make those kind of decisions and those kind of moves urgently.
And Carl, you think this is from the people themselves? Because you're suggesting that we should focus more on developing our agriculture sector. But do you think the people themselves actually want to get into it? Because apparently that's one of the challenges that we have.
I hear you. Here. You see the debts that is going on around here? People are using their teeth to dig their graves. Yeah? Old and young, from baby stop suck. Sure. Yeah? So, therefore, we have the reason, if we truly love the people, and if the people truly love themselves, we can do it. Yeah? And you're so right, this is not just about government. Yeah? Our government reps is just a few. We are the government. As others always remind me and remind others. We are the government. Yeah? That's how we have to deal with this Westminster style politics, which is not ours. Yeah? So I'm talking about administrators, administrations, and the people cohesively, collectively. We have to do this. Just like how, hey, force make water go uphill, you know. If we don't want to do it that way, do it that force. Marcus Messiah Garvey had said, who visited our shores. He said, backs up against the wall, you know.
Caller, I'm sorry to have to cut you, but I have to take one more call before we break for the midday news. You can call back in after the news, and we can continue. Okay, yes. So, We can take one more call before we go for the midday news. So we're just talking about independence, and we're having a look back. And we go to the phone line. Caller, good afternoon. Your final call for today, for the first hour.
Hey, good day, how you doing?
I'm well.
One of the things I realize that in our federations that people are afraid to be truthful of our advancement throughout our years of independence and even before. We have had so many things change over the years to present day. But people, because of politics, are reluctant to say they happen. Education, sports, aviation, housing, you name it. We are better off than we were before. But again, we are stuck in this time loop that if we did not do it, or if our party did not do it, it didn't happen. You keep asking the gentleman about agriculture and other stuff. I grew up in a village in the countryside where I've seen numerous persons survive from the land. They got too old to work the land anymore, and the land just lie in grass now. But farmers can't find land to farm on it. So are we really telling the truth? Or we want government to do everything for us? We need to be realistic. People talk about a plan for development for a country. We have had numerous plans over the years in housing, school, education, name it. Most persons who have migrated from St. Kitts and Nevis over the years, they spent the 40 years out of St. Kitts, they come back and are amazed at what the country have done, both St. Kitts and Nevis over that 40-year period, or even before. Tourism. We have visitors who come to the island year after year and ask questions like, does that house belong to black people? Do you own this vehicle? People used to have to walk into the country once ago because they couldn't find vehicles because they want enough vehicles to travel. Do we still have to walk it home? No. Are roads paved? Do we have a better medical system where children that go to school get vaccinated and all that? They are persons who have a choice. Just recently, we reached to a point where government is saying, okay, persons could come with their hair a specific way. We have come a long way. There was a stigma with Rasta children going to school. We have changed. But the problem again, go back to that myopic part of us that don't want to advance ourselves because it was Dr. Douglas, Dr. Simmons, it was Dr. Harris, or it was now the present Prime Minister. We need to give the country, the Federation, its jacket.
Okay, so Carla, I want to ask you a question, and I'll give you a minute to respond because we have to break for the news. What would you want to see us, as you said, you know, we've seen developments since independence. What would you want to see from us as a society, outside of politics, outside of government, that we do as a society, as a country, to develop ourselves for the next generation, post-independence?
I'm going to say it like this. I would like to think it's a Nevis working together as a collective rather than two divided islands. I would like to see the competition between islands as a federation change, where we harmonize what we have and build the best out of it. We don't need two of everything. We need to change that competitiveness that we have between the islands. I look at the cricket, for example, Patriots bearing the name of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a better league in Nevis when it comes to cricket. More persons per Nevis, cricketing in Nevis. Am I saying that you should move the Patriots there? No, I'm just saying that we could get more persons to play from that little island because it's part of the federation. But we don't want to work together. So if you get what I'm saying, I would like to see us collaborate more.
All right. Thanks, caller. Yes, so that call is generally calling for collaboration, closer collaboration and development. He acknowledged that, gains have been made since independence. Well, that's the first hour of Inside the News. We were discussing the earthquake and the aftershocks that we heard occurred last night in Morocco. We do have representatives, the OECS High Commission as well as the ambassador. He's actually over there. So we're trying to get some more details and information on that and others, but we're focusing on this week. It's your view. It's independence. Tell us how you view St. Kitts and Nevis from independence to now, the development, the sustainability of the island, of the federation itself, the two islands, and where we can go from here as a people, going forward. But we have to break now to bring you the headline news. It's that time. Yes, and then we'll continue with the discussion on the other side of the break.
50,000?
$50,000?
$50,000? Win big with TDC. Win up to $50,000 cash in the TDC Mega Rewards Mega Raffle. To enter, you must be a Mega Rewards member or sign up to TDC Mega Rewards Loyalty Program. Shop at our TDC retail stores or online at shoptdcgroup.com to receive one entry for every $250 spent. Draws take place from July to November. Win $10,000 every month with your entry rolled over so you can win, and win even more.
Yes, this is 50.
Terms and conditions apply.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king. Please drink responsibly.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Dalil Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
With the Win FM Midday News, I am Kevon Brown. Our top stories: Brian Dyer speaks about rising global temperatures, storm formation and intensity. Skelec warns the public of illegal dumping at substations. Individuals can be fined once caught. In Grenada, a commentator blasts leader's selfish ego for destabilizing his party. A psychotherapist is concerned that St. Lucia is facing a mental health crisis. Internationally, a magnitude 6.8 earthquake struck central Morocco, killing over 1,000 people at the time of reporting. The number is likely to continue rising. Now the details. There has been a continuous spike in global temperatures, with summer 2023 being the hottest period ever recorded in history, according to Mr. Brian Dyer, director at the Nevis Disaster Management Department, during On the Mark on Wednesday night, September 6th. Research suggests that across the globe, hot days will continue to get hotter and for longer periods, and fewer cold days will be experienced. Research also revealed that ocean temperatures have increased, making it more favorable for storm formation and intensification.
This year is the hottest on record.
Right.
And the July was the hottest in record since temperatures started to be collected. Met Services and the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology have indicated that based on their information and analysis, we should see the heat continue for another 3 months.
The increased global temperatures have significantly impacted weather patterns. Mr. Dyer explained how excess heat in Earth's oceans has changed how hurricanes form and evolve.
The El Nino, the Southern Oscillation, it occurs every 2 to 4 years in the Eastern Pacific. The El Nino is the extremely warming of the Eastern Pacific waters. The La Nina is the reverse, the extremely cooling of the Eastern Pacific waters. So it affects weather patterns globally. So when we have El Nino, we should have, I put it should in inverted commas, less hurricanes, because of the warm ocean temperatures in the Pacific would produce what we call wind shear with the flow of the air in the opposite direction, and it would interact with the formation of the storms on the Atlantic side of it, and it would tend to blow the tops off of the thunderstorms or thunderstorm clouds, and would minimize the formation of hurricanes. So during a El Nino year, we should have less hurricanes, but because we see now the Pacific and the Atlantic are both showing identical temperatures, it's difficult to say the El Nino will have a significant impact on the hurricane season this year. However, the other areas of the world, some countries will be seeing a lot of activity with regards to flooding. Some areas will experience extreme drought. So, next year when the El Nino is in full effect, you will see a lot more report of damages for some of these countries, especially in the Eastern Asia.
Rapid intensification of hurricanes has been happening more and more. One would recall Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017 that went through a rapid intensification cycle, where the strongest winds within the storm increased by 35 miles per hour in 24 hours, thus causing major destruction in several islands across the region. The unforgettable Hurricane Dorian in 2019 shifted in intensity from 150 miles per hour to about 185 miles per hour in 9 hours and had wind gusts of up to 220 miles per hour. Dorian had landfall on Abaco and Grand Bahama and remained there for about 40 hours, causing intensive flooding, damages, injuries, and death. Most recently, Hurricane Idalia rapidly intensified by 55 miles per hour in 24 hours before making landfall on the Florida coast. Hurricane Lee also accelerated at a rapid pace, from a Category 2 hurricane to a Category 5 hurricane within 12 hours over open waters. The St. Kitts Electricity Company said individuals are dumping litter and other solid waste at its substations throughout the island. Control and Operations Superintendent at Skelec, Mr. Javid Gilbert, made a guest appearance on Power Talk on September 6th, where he highlighted some of the instances of illegal dumping at the substations.
What we would tend to see happen when we visit a substation, we will find persons having their bags, garbage bags full of different plastic bottles and personal hygiene stuff, different various things that they would just simply throw over into the substations. Also, we'll see persons building stuff onto the substations, like maybe a little shed or the various, I could call various places, like, you know, we have a substation in camps. Persons dumps some stuff around there, and they have something built onto our wall there. And then we have like Royal Bank Substation that is basically in First Caribbean parking lot yard. Every week I get a call from the maintenance personnel at First Caribbean that someone dumped more garbage into the substation. An interesting one at Buckley's substation, the outdoor substation. Persons, I don't know if there was a roof renovation that was taking place. They took all the T111s that are old and rotten, and they just placed them into the substation. So now we will have to, Skelec will have to hire persons to now to collect those out of the substation to get them properly discarded of.
Gilbert said Skelec would have to incur cleanup costs because it is vitally important that the surroundings and the inside of the substations are kept clean so that the technicians can safely operate switchgears and prevent fire or electrical hazards.
Going back to the safety hazards, it starts with the technician going to the substation, recognizing the amount of debris or garbage that build up from persons dumping it. They have to try to clear that. In clearing that, anything could happen. Probably there would be maybe an exposed cable, you know, that the technician did not recognize just by simply walking into the substation to see what causing the outage or what problem that is taking place in the area. So those are some of the first issues that we're looking at. Also, we're thinking about the guys that going there, not prepared to do sanitary work, but to do the normal duty electrical work. So they're exposing themselves to whatever potential hazards that are in those bags.
Also on the Power Talk panel, Environmental Health Officer Mr. McKean Brown said workmen could be at risk of contamination, whether from injectables or the waste from rats and rodents, which could potentially spread diseases.
There can also be sharps in the waste. So sometimes some people dump, especially those who have diabetes, and so they need to use injectables. So if those are not disposed of properly and they're being disposed by the substation, the men are at risk of going to touch or pick up that container or plastic bag, and they can get dug or stuck by the pins and the needles, which can contaminate them. Also with the rodents and the other pests. Rodents, the droppings and their pee, for a better word, urine. That is one of the main ways that leptospirosis is transmitted. And we only have to touch it, or in the case of pee, if it gets dry, it gets evaporated and it can be inhaled. So that is the exposure it putting the electrical workers at. And let me tell you now that the risk for the electrical worker is not only at the electrical worker, because some one of us, we are connected in some way. And in this small island, we are only like 2 people away from somebody. So that connection can come straight back to us and affect us or any of our family members.
The term illegal dumping is the disposal of litter or solid waste at any place that is not an approved solid waste site. In St. Kitts and Nevis, persons who engage in illegal dumping commit a criminal act and can be fined, Mr. Brown explained.
We have 2 sets of legislation that we work with when it comes to illegal dumping. One is the Public Health, Safety and Nuisance Abatement Act. That speaks to a fine with a ticket. With this fine, will carry you to the magistrate court once you do not adhere to what the instructions are, and within the time, because there's a time limit also. So when you go to the magistrate court, it is up to the magistrate discretion to fine you or give you a fine. If the nuisance is not abated within the time that the magistrate gives you and we have to go back to the court, the offender can be fined along with the original fine, $200 per day, as how long the nuisance existed, and then the magistrate can fine you again. Because health laws are criminal acts. When you can't contravene these acts, they are considered to be criminal acts. Most people don't think of it that way, but it's actually a criminal act against the society. Also, the other one is the Solid Waste Act. Well, the Solid Waste Litter Abatement Act, actually. It falls under that purview. Now, with that one, we have a ticketed system, a ticket book that we can issue for indiscriminate dumping, especially if you are found dumping at the point, and that one carries a $500 fine. So we don't have to go courts with that one. Once you are ticketed, the officer, just like a traffic ticket, the officer carry it to the magistrate court, and you either go to pay it, other than that, you go to the court system, and then you actually end up paying more in time and money.
Members of the public who are involved in the dumping of waste at these Skellig substations were asked to cease and desist, as their actions can cause major problems to the company's infrastructure, the workmen, and by extension, the country. In regional news, in Grenada, a commentator blasts leader's selfish ego for destabilizing his party. Primetime Caribbean has that story.
Grenadian commentator William Joseph blasted former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell for choosing what he called his selfish will over the best interest of his party and country. Joseph's commentary on Tuesday came in the wake of Mitchell's latest statement that there will be no party convention soon, even though one is long overdue constitutionally. Joseph said Mitchell's selfish ego is destabilizing his party.
His knowledge of his loss of power seems superficial, stopping short of the reasons for his defeat. And that's a pride of life problem right there. Pride of life.
There are growing rumblings about the lack of a push within the NNP under the guidance of the defeated leader to meet its constitutional requirements. An executive member sent a copy of the party's constitution to our news desk Wednesday, saying there is a clear violation, in quoting Article 5. The article states that the National Convention shall meet at least once annually. The last convention was held in January 2022.
A psychotherapist is concerned that St. Lucia is facing a mental health crisis. DBS St. Lucia has that report.
Against a backdrop of mounting social and economic issues, the nation also finds itself in the grips of a mental health crisis. Clinical counselor at the National Mental Wellness Center, Alison Edward, highlighted this sobering reality during the recent Newsmaker Live program.
I think St. Lucia is in a crisis when it comes to mental health. Diagnosis, mental health diagnosis is on the rise. There is a high rate of diagnoses like schizophrenia, major depression, major depressive disorder, and bipolar disorder. And so that is on the rise in St. Lucia.
More support needs to be forthcoming from the government and civil society, says the mental health professional, if the country is to face this problem head on. The island's lone mental wellness center is not enough, with many suffering from mental illness roaming the streets.
And what other places? Because we only have the wellness center. Is there another place is there something else that can be done so that, persons could get the help that they need beyond the wellness center, in terms of finding ways, in terms of teaching persons how to cope and how to live their daily lives. So there's a lot that can be done, but it's not being done in terms of mental illness. We also have to look at the medication. Are there new and improved, medications that they have now on the market? Are we getting them? And why are we using the same medication all across the board throughout the islands? You have a mental illness and you feel like if you go to Dominica, they will give you another, another drug. You'll try something else. It's not. It's the same thing across the board.
Suicide and suicidal ideation continue to be major concerns. So far for the year, 4 individuals have taken their lives.
There is an economic crisis going on. Unemployment is still high. People are still looking for jobs. People have lost their jobs, around the time of, COVID. And plus anxiety and depression, they have risen to sky high since the pandemic. So there is not a good feeling around, but yet still there's a good feeling because things are starting to get better, and we are even working much harder at the wellness center and of course the helpline to basically help with the situation that's going on in St. Lucia when it comes to mental health.
Despite increased willingness and commonly shared stresses among the public, most adults who have only fair or poor mental health are still not comfortable talking to loved ones or a professional about it. In most cases, it is out of a desire to avoid the shame and stigma attached to mental health issues. Citizens are being urged to utilize the National Helpline 203, which provides support to people in emotional distress. In addition, one can seek out mental health services that are readily available at the Mental Wellness Center. For the DBS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
We now bring you these international reports.
Saturday, the 9th of September, and our main story is the strong earthquake which has hit central Morocco, killing more than 630 people and leaving hundreds more injured, according to state TV.
Yes, what we know is it struck at 11 o'clock last night, and the quake's epicenter was in the high Atlas Mountains, south of the city of Marrakesh. Many of the deaths are believed to be in hard-to-reach mountain areas, as Charlotte Winfield reports.
Streets filled with rubble and destruction. The earthquake struck central Morocco shortly after 11 p.m. on Friday, with an aftershock less than 20 minutes later. The quake's epicenter is in a remote area of the high Atlas Mountains, but tremors are said to have been felt in the capital, Rabat, more than 200 miles away. There's reports that buildings in Marrakesh's old city have been destroyed, and one family was trapped in the rubble of a collapsed house. Many people are now said to be staying outside their homes in case the city is rocked by further powerful aftershocks. One man described feeling a violent tremor and seeing buildings moving, whilst another told reporters that people were in shock and panic. Holidaymakers in Marrakesh described feelings of terror as the earthquake hit.
The room just started going mental and shaking. I think at first it felt like, I don't know, it felt like there was like someone like hoovering like the walls in the room next to us. And then we thought maybe it's like a massive helicopter. I think your brain doesn't register straight away like what's happening until like the picture frames are shaking and the bed's shaking and everything else in between.
It's feared the death toll will continue to rise as some of the worst affected areas are in remote mountain villages that are difficult to reach. Charlotte Winfield, BBC News.
Well, we're joined now by journalist Martin Jay, who's in Amiz, which is close to the earthquake's epicentre. What do you know about the level of damage? We're clearly hearing very worrying reports this morning.
Yeah, very worrying indeed, and a very, very sad day for Moroccans. Moroccan people were really not ready for this at all. They've never had anything quite like this in terms of natural disasters, and you have really an entire nation in shock. The reports of 600 dead are probably well under. I would imagine there'll be a lot more than that by the time we get to the end of the day, because most of this data is coming in from the cities, particularly Marrakesh, where there was a lot of buildings collapsing, including a mosque. But in reality, the real deaths will be in the countryside where I am. I saw an army helicopter hovering above me, slowly cruising around the mountainside, looking for tiny little local houses that have collapsed on people.
As you say, a remote area, so presumably it's hard at the moment to get a handle on how much damage there is outside of the cities.
I think so. I think Charlotte's report, I mean, she made the point that this is going to be the tougher challenge, is today and tomorrow and the coming days to put into motion all of Morocco's state infrastructure, army, police and gendarmerie, to actually get into those areas and to help people. There's a few social media clips of Moroccans being very angry in these villages and begging for help. But I think the resources are just stretched to the maximum. So we'll have to see by the end of the day what the real figures are.
You mentioned, Martin, that Morocco isn't necessarily a place that's used to earthquakes. So will the infrastructure be there to cope with the aftermath?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We saw during the COVID pandemic that the king really pulled out all the stops and created a number of temporary hospitals, big ones, almost overnight. So I think the possibilities are there to throw the lever and to create centres, places where people could sleep, get a meal and medical help. But at the moment, we just don't know what the situation is. The public health sector in Morocco is quite poor, pretty much under invested in. So we'll see if those extra resources will have to be rolled out during today and tomorrow.
Metropolitan Police, who have confirmed that they have arrested a terror suspect who escaped from Wandsworth Prison on Wednesday. All the details we have from the Metropolitan Police are that he has been arrested just after 11 o'clock this morning. They did release a statement earlier on this morning saying that they believed he was in the West London Chiswick area. They have now said on their website they apprehended him just after 11 o'clock today, Saturday morning, in the Chiswick area, and that Daniel Khalif is currently in police custody. They are thanking the public and the media for their support throughout their investigation to locate him, and they say they will provide a further update on his arrest. Well, just to remind you, Daniel Khalif escaped from Wandsworth Prison in South London on Wednesday by clinging on to the underside of a delivery vehicle. And initially, police said they had no idea where he was and that they thought he may possibly have left the country, but they did continue focusing their efforts on searching the West and South London areas. And then earlier on today, the Met Police confirmed that they were focusing their efforts in and around the Chiswick area. This was after intelligence-led activity and some confirmed sightings in that area overnight, including, they said, calls from members of the public. They said that police were continuing to comb that area today, carrying out intensive search activity. They said that as far as what he looked like, what he was wearing, they believed that he was wearing a black baseball cap, a black T-shirt, a dark-coloured bottoms, and also carrying a small bag or case. They urged the public to continue to look out for him and to contact 999 if they saw him. But they said, please do not approach him, even though we don't believe he is a threat to the wider public. The Metropolitan Police have confirmed they have arrested 21-year-old Daniel Khalif, the ex-soldier who escaped from Wandsworth Prison on Wednesday. He escaped clinging to the underside of a truck. He was working in the kitchen at the time, and this was a food delivery vehicle. Lots of questions being asked about how he managed to escape, a prison where he should have, of course, been secure and many measures in place to make sure that prisoners can't escape. So various investigations underway into what went wrong there, but the police, the authorities will no doubt be extremely relieved that Daniel Khalif, a 21-year-old former army soldier who was in prison on charges of trying to spy for an enemy state, understood to be Iran. He was due for trial in November. He escaped, so they will no doubt be relieved that he has now been apprehended and is back in police custody. Well, they also released footage yesterday of Mr. Khalif being transported in vehicle and then coming out of vehicle, the underside of vehicle, not too far away, when the truck stopped near the south entrance to Wandsworth roundabout, and a member of the public reported seeing Mr. Khalif crawling out from underneath a vehicle. So that was a major lead for the police. And over the past few days, they have been combing various parts of South and West London. Let's talk to Dominic Castiani now, our Home Affairs correspondent, who's following all the developments for us. Hi, Dominic. And this confirmation, no doubt a huge relief to the authorities that Daniel Khalif has now been arrested.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I think the champagne corks are metaphorically popping at Scotland Yard, because despite the fact that this guy has been on the run for, since the middle of the week, after this absolutely extraordinarily daring and quite sophisticated breakout from prison, a very rare things to happen, they have managed to track him down very, very rapidly once it became clear that there were sightings, and they were able to use all of their assets, technology, and people on the ground to basically tighten the net over a series of hours, culminating into a very rapid movement of events this morning in Chiswick and southwest London. I mean, just to bring you up to speed, I've been speaking to a contact at Scotland Yard. The details are becoming, aren't quite clear at the moment exactly what happened on the ground, but there were sightings of Daniel Khalif in the Chiswick area, and effectively they were able to flood the area, obviously with officers, and trying to effectively get as much information as possible. And of course, once you've got a sighting, you've then got an opportunity to pick out CCTV and live footage coming out of the traffic cameras across the capital. And I suspect a combination of these factors rapidly effectively focused their resources on a tighter and tighter area. We were aware of activity, police activity in the area of Chiswick House and Gardens, which is a National Trust site. We don't know for sure whether that's where the arrest took place, but we now know he's in custody. I'm told, in relation to custody, he's currently with the police, so he hasn't been taken back to Wandsworth Prison or, to be frank, a more secure establishment, Category A establishment, such as Belmarsh in southeast London. What's going to happen next isn't quite clear. I suspect he will be taken into interview to try and clarify the circumstances of his arrest, because a key element for the counter-terrorism officers in this case now are not just that they've got the man they were looking for, but whether or not he actually had any help from anybody else, because obviously there is the wider question there about whether or not there's somebody out there who assisted in this breakout that they need to now track down and bring into custody as well.
Dominic, this is a huge story because, as you say, prison breakouts are extremely rare in this country, and especially for somebody who's, on such serious charges. Just remind us who 21-year-old Daniel Khalif is, why he was in prison, and why this escape was so significant.
Yeah, well, Daniel Khalif was effectively a remand prisoner at HMP Wandsworth. That means he'd been accused of crimes, and he was awaiting trial. That was due to take place in November. He'd already told the court that he was going to plead not guilty to the 3 charges he faced. Now, the first 2 of those charges are Terrorism Act charges. Well, effectively, one of them relates to effectively acquiring information about members of the armed services, which could be useful in preparing an act of terrorism. I know that sounds very, very serious, but in the whole scheme of terrorism legislation, this is a relatively minor offence to acquire information where it's not quite clear what the necessary alleged purpose of that would be. He pleaded not guilty to that, saying he hadn't committed any such offence. There was a second allegation that he had basically placed a hoax bomb in parts of the barracks where he was based, MOD Stafford. Again, he pleaded not guilty to that, denied that charge. After those charges were laid against him, this was in January of this year, he was subsequently charged charged under the Official Secrets Act of gathering information which could be useful to an enemy. And that's a much, much more serious charge under the Official Secrets Act, can lead up to, I think it's 14 years in prison. That was formally made against him in July. He's pleaded not guilty to that. Now, very little information about that is in the public domain, not least because these are what are called live proceedings. It's a live criminal case, and obviously Daniel Khalif is entitled to a fair trial and an opportunity to put his case before a jury. But we do understand that that allegation relates to Iran, although we're not quite sure about the circumstances. If this ultimately comes to trial, now he's back in custody, I'm sure the circumstances will be made clear during that prosecution when it takes place. But, of course, now he's in custody, there is the obvious question about whether or not he will be charged in relation to the breakout as well. That's something that officers are now going to have to consider over the coming days, along with the Crown Prosecution Service. I know it may sound an obvious thing to state, but they're still going to go through the process of assessing the evidence, drawing up the papers before any such charge like that can be formally made against him. But, really significant victory this for counter-terrorism at Scotland Yard. They've got their man. They said they'd get their man. It's obviously taken days, but this stuff is complicated. 150 officers and staff involved, other assets around the country, to use the jargon. And, they were increasingly confident once they got the sighting, initially at Wandsworth Bridge in South London, where he effectively popped out from underneath this food lorry, that they would get him, because that effectively gave them a crumb trail to follow. And that crumb trail is always so important in these situations. Once you've got that sighting, you can then start looking at, well, where did he go next? Let's look at the CCTV image. Let's do the door-to-door knocking. If the man is using some kind of payment card, let's look at financial transactions in the area. Those kind of things. And you build up that picture very, very rapidly. And, the one thing you can say about these kind of operations is they've got a lot of experience at Scotland Yard in trying to track down people very, very rapidly. And even if it takes days, they generally speaking, they tend to get there in the end.
We've seen it all before. Popular tourist sites forced to close, and furloughed workers protesting lost wages.
No paycheck, no peace.
It could all happen again on October 1st if Congress fails to approve spending bills amid a dispute between lawmakers, which could result in a government shutdown. Congress must allocate funding to more than 400 government agencies each fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. If lawmakers don't pass those bills before the new fiscal year starts, those agencies will be unable to continue operating as normal. There have been 20 shutdowns since the 1970s, according to the Congressional Research Service. Among those, the shutdown between December 2018 and January 2019, when Republican President Donald Trump battled Democratic lawmakers over funding for a border wall. And data shows that shutdown cost the economy about $3 billion.
Hey, ho, ho, the shutdown has got to go.
Some 800,000 federal employees were furloughed without pay for 35 days during the 2018-2019 shutdown, hitting many workers right in the wallet.
We're all hurting here. We want to work. I want to work. I want to serve my country.
Our budget is blown out of the water. I have no idea how to plan for what's next.
A wide range of government services could be halted during a shutdown, from trash pickup at national parks to passport applications. Other workers deemed essential would remain on the job, but without pay. For example, military personnel would remain working, but roughly 429,000 civilian Pentagon employees would be furloughed. A debt limit is a cap set by Congress on how much money the U.S. government can borrow, which needs to be raised from time to time. Failure to do so could prevent the Treasury Department from paying its debts, and that would likely have severe consequences on global markets and could plunge the country into recession. Sometimes Congress raises the debt ceiling quietly, and sometimes, like in June of this year,
the structure of negotiations.
Lawmakers used the occasion to engage in a noisy debate over fiscal policy before raising the cap at the last possible moment.
You were listening to the Midday News on WINNFM 98.9. The headlines: Brian Dyer speaks about rising global temperatures, storm formation and intensity. Skelec warns the public of illegal dumping at substations. Individuals can be fined once caught. In Grenada, a commentator blasts leader's selfish ego for destabilizing his party. A psychotherapist is concerned that St. Lucia is facing a mental health crisis. Internationally, a magnitude 6.8 earthquake struck central Morocco, killing over 1,000 people at the time of reporting. The number is likely to continue rising. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
People make the world go
welcome back. Welcome back to Inside the News. I trust you had a good lunch. And we are back to continue with the discussions today. You know, we're just talking about the earthquake in Morocco, as you would have heard a bit on the news, as well as the fact that this weekend is going to be Independence. And we just want your thoughts and experiences, and where do you think St. Kitts and Nevis should be at going forward, and what changes and improvements are needed as we seek to, recognize our independence anniversary. But before we do any of that, let's quickly acknowledge our partners, and then we'll come back with the discussion.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Forward, moving with hey, this is the nation with the best customer experience. TDC, you are the one for we. Happy anniversary. Together we succeed, building on strong community, pressing onward to our destiny. One love, one family. Together we succeed. Let the whole world see. Yes, this is 50.
And we're back. We go straight to the phone lines and hear from this caller. Caller, good afternoon. Caller?
Greetings, my brother.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to step on the reason on independence. And then till now. When we got independence, we start to fly a new flag, isn't it?
Yes.
Emblem, yeah. And not only that, we used to sing an anthem, whether God save the Queen or whatever it was, I don't remember. But we also got a new anthem, isn't it?
Yes, everything changed holistically after independence.
Yeah. You're right. And let me step on the anthem for a while. The anthem is words and with musical accompaniment, right? And the first 4 words go like this. O land of beauty. Yeah, I want to repeat it. O land of beauty. No, we are not denying the beauty of the land. And we think that we should reach a stage where now we change land to lands. Yeah, understanding the dynamics within the scheme of things, yeah? With no division to nothing, no, like how the political polarization or whatever it is, just, it's a different space, yeah, so it should be lands. Anyhow, yeah, so we are not denying that beauty, yeah? No, we see it here, pristine. But we have a situation whereby nastiness at crisis is marring the beauty. Okay. 1983. Then time them me up a area there in a battle. But me coming from a couple of years before that, me coming from an area where my mother and Friday. Mac Night area. You see, in a Mac Night, the only thing you might see in the jail now and again is moss. And then in some jails, you can see that, because the man them scrub the drain. Then they got some people who walk around here wharfing jar. Yeah, so people do the people, yeah, and people are saying, but the nastiness not there. As we see it now, we walk to some alley in Mac Night and Newtown where we born and village where we go to school, and we see in some sites where we wonder if human beings, if only we see these sites here. But apart from to them corners, they're right in the open. In the open. No. 1983. We come from a time where we don't see that too much. But it gets worse over you know. But progress in that. We gone back. We gone way back. And it is something that we need to address in. We are addressing within the scheme of things that we say. We are journey. Yeah? We independence. One lady also said to me, I say, nastiness is like not to crosses. It mars progress and success when you're environment. Remember when you're small, you know, and house broke and not even food is and the blood start cleaning, you know. Yeah. Extra cleaning, that is fire bright. And from that don't happen, you know, everything come in the house, you know. She not bring fish, somebody bring something, Lily send this, that, or the other. Somebody who the ogre is sending money. Yeah. We observe that. So having such environment that we are having now, nastiness, stinkiness, right in the heart of what we call Basseterre, capital.
So Carla, let me interject there, right? Do you believe that the owners, and going back to the points that you're making, that you're being seen garbage and all of that around, would you say that it's upon us as a society to lift St. Kitts and Nevis forward?
No. Listen to me now. Nastiness is a mental problem. Yeah? And we have to identify it better. Because I now go take a sweetie out of my pocket and put the sweetie in my mouth and dash the paper on the ground. You might, yeah? But you have other people who do that. My mind is not going to allow me to do that. Other people will do that. So we have to first identify it as a mental, it's an attitude. Yeah? Them travel certain places and people don't tolerate it and them come out of them attitude. So in our state now, no onus is on us. Every somebody, the administration, the government that we put in place are to put things in place to stop that. A thing in the news a while ago say you go dump off or something somewhere and then catch you pay $500. Foolishness, ridiculous. That face should start from $5,000. You drop a piece of sweetie paper like that, we just start about a $500 that. We are just around here. Let me love the nastiness. What you saying at all? My brother, this is not the people. We have people around us who are clean. Big up clean people who won't do such things. And we have people in our midst who are nasty. They drop things anywhere and everywhere. I am sojourning by a bus stop, or near a bus stop, and I clean.
Well, actually, Carla, my second question to you would be
the emblem.
Well, Carla, my second question to you, right, would be: do you think that we should now engage in self-help in the sense that we do more community cleanups, more community minded events to build St. Kitts and Nevis from the community levels?
Virgin. There are people who does that. The nastiness is more than the cleaning. We need to stop the nastiness, stop it in its tracks. Otherwise, we are just cleaning. And I'm going to tell you something more. There are people getting paid to clean, and they love the nastiness. Yeah. I said we spend some time in Jamaica. When you drop them, people drop something by the ground, and somebody says, oh, we do that. They come to them and say, oh, people going to get work if we not shut on this. Yeah? We have that mentality here, too. Yeah? Talking about the emblem, the flag. Then the month of September.
Okay, caller quickly because we have another caller on the line as well. So.
And are we still online? They're finishing now. We still online?
Yes, you're still online.
When we look amongst muck, nastiness here and there, few times different places. One time right in front of government headquarters on Church Street, we pick up the emblem off the ground. Yeah? Between some rubble, and we just stick it up in front of the building there that is incomplete. At different places at events, people just walking to and fro. They're blind, they're not missionary like my family, they can see. So, you see right there? Just right there, whereby independence, yeah, ain't take on flesh. Yet, even in that particular mindset, how we can exist, because that is not living. Rats up and down the place. Eh? I heard that sound even come out with the people and complaining about people dumping skeleton, one of them dumping rats up and down in Bastille. And other places, I'm sure. Foolishness. They're going backward, forward.
All right.
Bless you, love.
Yeah, thanks, caller. And we go back to the phone line. Caller, good afternoon. Hello, caller? Yes, we missed that caller, and we go back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Greetings once more in the name of Jesus Christ, the only Savior of his elect sinners. Now, I would like to go back on something. I was listening to your news and our program, and as I was listening to your news program, you mentioned Morocco again, and I think now it's up to 1,000 or more than 1,000 that have died because of the earthquake. Now, I want to say something. You see, the richer a country is, the more developed a country is, because of its wealth creation, the more it is able to adapt to and overcome destruction and disasters. And normally the less people die. Be it earthquake, tsunami, hurricanes, that sort of stuff, because they have stronger structures, because they have more wealth creation in their country and are able to build stronger structures. This is a lesson and for us to learn. And the poorer countries are, because the people are not able to build structures as strong and that sort of stuff. When they poorer countries than in the wealthier countries. And so wealth creation is very important because it helps to lessen the deaths and during disasters, and it helps to overcome the disasters, their destruction. It helps to overcome them a whole lot quicker because they have more money, they have more wealth creation in their countries, the richer a country is. And that is a lesson we should learn. If you want to maximize the wealth creation in your countries, you have to do things the biblical way. And that is what will maximize the wealth creation in your country. And which is one of the ways, where first of all, our heart must be first correct and right with Jesus Christ in obedience to his word. And in obedience to his word, the thing that we need to do, the economy we need to have based upon the Bible is a free market capitalist system that is at least characterized by the continual cutting of taxes, regulations, and have a free market. So such thing as agencies and that sort of stuff, government-protected agencies and that sort of stuff would not be. And that will create a lot of competition and create a lot of wealth in your countries. And in creating a lot of wealth in your country, people now will be able to build stronger structures because they will be cheaper to build and people will be having more money in the pockets. And with that, and building stronger structures, people will be able to weather far better disasters and catastrophes. And you would have less deaths as a result. And people, not only that, but people will be able to build back quicker whatever get destroyed because they have more money in their pocket. And it is cheaper to reconstruct and rebuild. But you see, when we don't obey the Bible, and when we don't apply the teachings of the Bible in all the areas of our lives, country, and so on, we suffer as a result. We get destroyed as a result. We get ruined and undone as a result. And death increases as a result.
All right.
Only the Bible has all the solutions to all of the issues in life.
Okay.
Only the Bible has all the solutions that we need.
All right.
And I would like to say,
could you quickly wrap it up?
Quickly, I would like to say, it doesn't matter how much experts we have, be it in economics or whatever, if we ain't do things the Bible way, we will be continue to go down the road of destruction in spite of all the experts that we may have. Only the Bible has all the answers, not the experts. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, caller. And we go back. Oh, we lost that caller. Yes, so we're taking a look at some of the challenges. We're looking at independence. You know, St. Kitts and Nevis in a sustainable country. What more can we do to alleviate those? And we go back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon.
Yes, it's me again. Good afternoon, family. My family is trying to outdo me. Eli. Good afternoon, Gregory. You see, the Bible says you must rightly divide the word of truth. In America, they're releasing that Passover, all the paper house that they make. I suppose America is not a capitalist country. The amount of destruction. Go down to Florida, all of Texas. One little piece of hurricane depression, they put everything on the ground. Now, in our development, there has been a vast improvement in our human and social development since independence. No question about it. Just look at the Human Development Index. I hope you're familiar with it. Access to education. Now, I started teaching in 1968. And one-room schools, the majority of the children barefooted. It was something to see, The level of education was low. But since that, we have improved. I recall in the early 1980s, they had the education reform policy. I think it's twice. When you see the children going to preschool now in their nice-looking uniform and socks and shoes, that was a dream. I mean, they were striving for egalitarianism. May sound socialist, right? The children who could afford wore slippers or shoes or joggers. And even up to 86 and later, there were some children still going to school barefooted. The school meals program, you want to ask a question?
No, go ahead, make your point.
The school meals program helped to reduce absenteeism from school, and the studies are there to prove it. Mr. Halliday, Joseph Halliday did a study, and Dr. Barry Shavans, maybe you know the name, he came and did a study on the situation analysis of women and children, which showed the level of poverty, malnutrition, poor health, Their neonatal rates were high, and over time, it is low. The Social Security was started in 68, with the retirement rate at 62, and the life expectancy was in the 50s. In the 50s, you know. So over time, even look at the housing. Why I don't like them come up like that? The quality of the housing has improved. If you look at our population census, you will see. The percentage of households having latrines. I grew up with latrine. Now it has fallen significantly. Every time they build a house, you put on a water closet. Modern facilities, you know? So that all of that helped to bring up our Human Development Index. So over the 40 years, successive governments have tried to increase our social and human development. So there is no question about it. The only thing lacking is our political. Now, this thing about self-help, you know, I used to visit my daughter in Barbados, in a place called Ashton Hall in St. Peter's. And I saw the residents, the people in the area, they fix the road, you know. Barbados is clean, you know. I am telling you, we might say, oh, let the government fix the road. One of them, I think, used to work with it, he brought home the roller, and they got the thing, and they fixed the road themselves. They wanted a tennis court, you know, those tennis courts in the street tennis. They got together and they did it. In the area where my daughter lived, a gentleman used to come. He cut all the lawns and so in the people's yard. We don't seem to have any kind of sense of community. This is why sometimes they talk about community council. That's what we need. Because the truth is, oh, the road up by us bad. Well, somebody, they can't get together and hire a bulldozer. I mean, seriously, they can. This is why they say, you know, some of the things we're complaining about, we as a people, that's why I say we need to understand our role. The tree, oh, they got bush and tree. For heaven's sake, everybody got machete. You know what I mean? If we were to get a sense of belonging, I keep saying it, we have to develop that kind of a sense. This is my country. I want it to look the best. I recall when I went to university in 82, I'll tell you, I did economics, and they were telling me, oh, you know, Dr. Arthur Lewis, you know Arthur Lewis? And they said Arthur Lewis said our countries could not go independence. I don't know if you know that. He said the small islands cannot become independent because they can't sustain themselves. Because he was pushing this theory about you pull up by your bootstraps. You pull yourself up. And my professors were saying, and I was saying, look, well, in saying things are a little better, you know how proud I felt in 82 when I became independent? I was able to go up there and show up my flag and show up me whatever. And then a number of persons acquiring tertiary education has increased significantly. Significantly, you know. Before time, well, if your mother's labor, your mother's farm. I recall before the graduates, Canada used to give scholarship. I went on a Canadian scholarship. America used to give. All of a sudden now, they try to slow us down when God bless Cuba and God bless all the Taiwan and the other countries. So when we look at it, we should be doing better. This is my point. You understand?
I understand.
Our education system, I taught at the high school. I taught from kindergarten to university first year. When I was teaching in Boston High School, if you didn't have a textbook, they would send you home. If your mother, even if you were bright and you couldn't afford to pay the exam fees, you weren't entered. Then when Dr. Simmons introduced self, I think they call it self, where for the first time they start to pay exam fees. So all the poor people, children, who was struggling, who could only write 1 and 2. We're now allowed to write the 9, now they're writing 10 and 11. We've gone a long way.
Okay, Miss Henry, 30 seconds.
You understand?
Miss Henry, 30 seconds. I have to acknowledge the partners, the sponsors, and then we come back.
Hello?
Yes, I was saying 30 seconds to make your point.
Yes, my 30 seconds is we have come a long way in our social and human development. And for that, we should give God thanks.
All right, thanks. Yes, so she was outlining that St. Kitts and Nevis has come a long way. We have to acknowledge our partners, TDC and Carol Brewery. They actually make Inside the News possible. And then we'll continue on the other side to look at the successes and some of the failures, as some people have been outlining, of where St. Kitts and Nevis has come from and where it needs to go as we seek to celebrate another occasion of independence in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust. To secure your investment, you need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us. TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us. People make the world go
round. And we are back here on Inside the News, and we go to the phone lines to hear from the caller. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Abel.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Abel. Now, permit me to bring to your program my concern about the summit, the Africa Climate Summit that was held in Kenya. Now, I don't know if you saw any of that, but what I found interesting and disappointing at the same time, that here we had an European Union Commissioner, Ursula von der Leyen. I think she's French. Now here we have Ursula offering the African $150 billion for partnership, and uttering words like, Europe is not only interested in extracting the resources out of Africa. Now, while she spoke, mostly all of the presidents are there seated. And what I find disturbing in all of this is the subtleness of what I refer to as our common enemy, Abel. Now, there are things happening on the continent of Africa where, in certain geographic space, they're asking for France to be expelled out of their spaces. So now, in my opinion, they're very subtle by sending a woman to talk to them at the climate change in Kenya. For me, I think they should reject Ursula's proposal. This is not the time for us to be partnering with Europe. Because whenever they come with an agenda, we have to ask the question, who is going to win? Is it going to be a win-win for both, or a win-win for Europe, and where does Africa left in all this? And this is why I'm saying I'm finding it so disappointing to see how they sat there and they listen. And it's left to be seen if they're going to accept her proposal. Because, Abel, $150 billion ain't nothing compared to what France alone is raking out of the continent annually, which is $500 billion. And for them to come with this now, I find it so disturbing. There are some African leaders who are saying, like Julius Malema is saying, keep your money. Now, I didn't see him at the climate. I don't know if he attended, but, I can't say if he did or not. But the other African leaders, Abel, have to wake up and reject Ursula's proposal. Let them keep their money. Because in this age when the dollar is under threat right now, I don't even think why we should be even partnering with them when their currency is becoming of no value. I know it's not going to happen just now, but we need to look towards the future. So my message to us, all of us, we have to create our own. And, they're saying, America and France is saying, their interest in Africa. I am saying to our African leaders, let us take ownership of our interests. Take ownership of our interests and manage what we have. And we invite the world to our table under our terms and conditions. Thank you for hearing me, Abel.
All right, thanks, caller. Thanks for that input. Yes, so as I was saying before I took the call, as St. Kitts and Nevis prepares to celebrate another independence anniversary, I think there's a lot to be thankful for at this point in time. I could point at least two things from a sports perspective. The national men's team actually made the Gold Cup, and we actually had a franchise that's actually a professional franchise that's based in St. Kitts and Nevis, actually being able to put us on the map, celebrate, bring victory home for St. Kitts and Nevis. And I think, even though we might not be in the position that we ought to be or we want to be, we have a lot to be thankful for. We go back to the caller. Good afternoon.
Yes, hello, it's Megan. I'd like to say something very quickly. Now, I'd like to say, no, America is not a capitalist country, a free market capitalist country. America is not such. Rather, it is a fascist. It is a fascist country with all of those load of government regulations and high taxes on the economy. I mean, we should know better. But even then, when America get natural disasters, so even then you don't hear these loaded deaths as you're now hearing in Morocco with over 1,000 deaths. So even then, you still don't hear these loaded deaths in America.
Hold on. And I would not necessarily agree with the part that you're saying, that you don't hear about the deaths. You hear about
loaded deaths. It's loaded deaths.
Hold on. You see, that's the thing. We hear initially of what's the numbers of in terms of the initial reporting, but the numbers go beyond that. I've had many I wouldn't say debates or arguments, but I've seen and I hear that in terms of following up from a media perspective, in terms of how many deaths and all that's actually reported, the issue from the early reporting that's coming out of Morocco is that a lot of people were caught off guard. One. Two, you don't necessarily get early warnings of and I would say this, you don't necessarily get early warnings about an earthquake. So a lot of people were not prepared. The time of the day, for example, when you hear about a hurricane is different. And I think that's the context that we have to put it in when we're speaking about the deaths.
Well, yeah, but even with hurricanes, for example, hurricanes have hit other countries, including Cuba and so on. And you hear these ton load of numbers, and in America, yes, you get structural damage, but you don't hear these load of deaths, even with hurricanes and that sort of stuff. So what? Because like I said, the richer countries, the more you're able to prepare beforehand, build stronger structures, that sort of stuff. And if you want to maximize the creation of wealth in your country,
you
have to go the Bible way.
Yeah, but Carla, we can argue that, yes, that's a position that stronger structures. But let's be frank. How many of the structures in a lot of the U.S., let's use Florida, for example, what are the structures made out of?
What are they made of? Well, I guess concrete, steel, and so like, and
not necessarily all of them.
more recent technological material.
No,
I would guess.
not necessarily, not all of them, caller. You see, the issue, the thing about the U.S. is, and we can take the last storm for example, they evacuate a lot of people. They urge people to get out beforehand. Why we're hearing about this, about it, at least 1,037 deaths from the reporting, is that this is an earthquake that occurred late into the evening. Yes, and they've accepted the fact that a lot of it could be a case, or as a result of not a lot of these buildings or houses were built according to the government regulations. And I wouldn't necessarily say you know it's because of the developed world or the rich world. We have to also be cognizant of the environment that these people are in. A lot of people, a lot of nations, especially those in Africa, whether Western, Southern, wherever it is, those countries also have their cultural ways of operating that you cannot change. So if I grew up in a rural area and my tribe is accustomed to building clay houses or mud structures, it's not fair for you to come out and say that, hey, you know, this is the case because of the developed world. I think context is what's important for this.
Yeah, but America do get earthquakes, too, and they do get heavy earthquakes. So America is not without earthquakes. But what I'm saying is that you do not hear these loads. And that thing about culture, a lot of culture is because people are not rich enough to do certain things to follow up with the most recent developments. And so because of that, they get stuck in the ways, and that end up becoming a cultural thing. So culture also, because of culture is not supposed to be static. Culture is supposed to be changing.
Yeah, but
which a lot of people do not understand.
Yeah, but
because not because we've been doing things over the years or something, we mean that we should continue.
Yeah, but caller, the thing is, right? And okay, just this final point, because I have one more caller I need to take before we go. It's just that I just want to get the people to understand that culture, yes, is not supposed to stay static. But if you are accustomed to one thing and you don't have an open mind for something else, then you cannot necessarily tell somebody to change something when they grew up with something instilled in them. A typical example, you cannot go into the Amazon and tell the tribes in the Amazon that they need to build concrete structures. You can't tell them they need to change their culture. They're going to tell you,
tell them that.
Because that's what they're accustomed to.
The people have changed.
Yeah, but that's the thing, caller.
People have changed from hot houses to concrete houses, so you could tell anybody that.
Yes, you can tell them.
If they want to listen to you.
You can, but again, it's their culture, right?
Yeah, but people have changed. There are people who have developed their cultures and changed their culture, and there are others who remain stick in their cultures.
Well, exactly.
But everybody made their own decision. But quickly, I'd like to say, what I would like to say quickly is that if America don't repent and start to obey the Bible, then sooner or later you're going to hear these loaded that's going to be happening to America because of God's punishment. And lastly, I would like to say quickly, well, in the 1930s, it really and truly is when we have had the highest recorded temperatures. And lastly, I would like to just remember Mr. Everson Bell from Connery, the firefighter, the rescue worker. Remember that he needs blood donation. It's very serious. He needed to save his life. I would just like to end on that.
All right, thanks.
Appeal for Mr. Everson Bell.
All right, thanks, caller. Yes, so I know. Yes, sorry about that. So I was saying, I know we all have cultural perspectives, but at the end of it, we have to respect everyone's culture. I know that's his opinion, but we have to respect everybody's culture, not because one section of society is modernized that we have to instill that into another section of society. And I think that's what we need to understand. People are still, you still have these tribes that are culturally oriented. Okay, and this is our final caller for the afternoon. Caller, good afternoon.
Yes, good day, sir. And just responding to what the gentleman said before, you have to make a distinction between developing countries and developed countries. Because when those developed countries were developing, they lost a lot of people as well. The U.S. in the Vietnam War, just in the last decade, it's over 50,000 soldiers were killed, United States. And it is fortunate, and I think it's from that it has learned to use its nuclear weapons as a deterrent, because if a nuclear weapon dropped on the United States, millions would die. But it is also true that as a developed countries, you have better infrastructure. You have better infrastructure, better housing, better water. You are better able with your resources to respond to these disasters more quickly in the country and also helping others elsewhere. So Morocco doesn't have that in those kind of outlying areas. And that has been reported on the news, continues to be reported. So over time, those countries will have to, if they manage their affairs well, they would need, with their resources, to begin to develop those kind of infrastructure to help otherwise. Okay. Just one point on St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, we are doing very well so far. You may know that we are in the high income bracket, high human development and high income bracket. We are second only to the Bahamas in the 15 CARICOM countries in terms of per capita income. And the story tells itself. You know why so many people come here? Because we are doing better than those other countries, relatively speaking. But we still have far to go, and we still have to manage things in a proper way. Not everything, each of us may have a different view about certain policies that are being undertaken. But I hope that if we can all work together, and we have to trust in God, we need to underscore that, continue to encourage our young people, even in terms of going to church and to follow in the Bible and do the Word of God. And hopefully we'll get even further in a better way. Thank you.
All right, thank you, caller. She shared some interesting thoughts there. And as I was saying, I respect the caller's opinion. But again, and the final caller basically underscored it. It's the context of the situation that must be outlined, because it's easy for us to say, yeah, this and that, but adding the context to it will give people a better understanding of it. This is our final caller for the afternoon. Caller, good afternoon.
Greetings, family, my brother.
Yes, you have a minute, caller.
Yes, okay. 60 seconds. All right. We agree with family. There has been some up and up, but most of it has been like piecemeal. To piecemeal and to sorry for, and some of it politically tainted too. We don't need it that way. We are dealing with people's up and up. We don't need it. Agriculture, putting agriculture upon a pinnacle is much more than land. We don't have no land problem. Land is the core, like the brain. Yeah, we don't have that in place. So we don't have no land problem whatsoever. We have other problems. We need to identify them, find a solution ASAP like yesterday's, and make agriculture work. Put agriculture upon the pinnacle it ought to be. Blessed God.
All right, thanks, caller. Well, that was the last caller for today's program. We were discussing the major news in St. Kitts region and across the world. And again, the major news, at least for today, is the fact that there was a massive earthquake in Morocco, and we suspect to have students as well as our High Commission and Commissioner, who is based there. The OECS High Commission is based in Morocco. So yes, that was the major news. And we also take a look. We looked ahead to next weekend's Independence Celebration on National Heroes Day. We have a lot to be thankful for here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I think we accept the fact that there's still a lot more that could be done. Yeah, there's still a lot more that could be done for the people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And also the fact that we as people need to sit down and be able to help each other, look at our neighbors, see what needs to be done within our communities, and be that community-oriented or develop that community-oriented spirit where If our neighbor needs some water, you give our neighbors. Let us not wait and depend on the government to get everything done for us, so that at least, we can build a stronger society that can, again, be the envy of the rest of the world. Well, it was nice spending the last 2.5 hours with you in St. Kitts and Nevis. Next weekend is a holiday, so I know they may not necessarily be an inside the news, but it was nice spending the last couple of weeks with you guys, me sitting in the hot seat. Yes, sitting in the hot seat and giving you guys, moderating you guys as we look beyond the topics and not just the political side of things. Let us look at the news, how it will benefit you, how it will impact you, and that's what we did. Well, until next time when I'm back in the hot seat, I know it wouldn't be anytime soon, so until then, it's goodbye and enjoy the rest of the day and the holiday. People make the world go round. People make the world go round. People make the world go round. People make the world go
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WIN.